Hi, this is Emma,
and Michaela,
and you're listening to
Sleeping in Park. Welcome to another episode of Patreon.
Yes.
Happy August.
I hope you had a wonderful 250th 4th of July celebration.
Yeah.
A month ago.
Yeah.
We should have said it in July, but what if
we should have?
What if you listened to it before 4th of July?
That's true.
So, wanted to throw
I mean, there's like 3 days, so
so you would have really had to be on top of it. But yeah. Oh, gosh. So today we are talking about wildfires because we have had lots of questions about them. Just wanted to learn more.
Yeah.
And we've learned some on different guided, basically just boat tours.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, we just wanted to learn more and share it with you.
Yeah. We actually got to see a few, like, in real life.
Yeah,
which was
I was gonna
actually
say real
really
ones.
cool.
Yeah.
And then, like, even just seeing, like, burn scars and then,
Yeah.
like, how
Learning
pretty it is, like, even a couple years later when you can see all the fresh growth.
Or even the next year, because
yeah,
we went to Jasper and it was the year after the giant wildfires.
Yeah.
And it was gorgeous. They were little baby wildflowers blooming all over and fresh grass, and they said plants that hadn't grown there in hundreds of years.
Yeah. Well, and then it was also a little bit easier, like, spot animals. Like, we saw a lot of elk.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool.
It was gorgeous there.
Very underrated experience, I think.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Jasper wasn't as busy as it could have been.
No, they did mention that tourism was down a lot because of the
wildfires.
And they gave us a special thanks.
Yeah, they did.
You're welcome. I'd do it again for free if you'd let me.
Yeah, right? But wildfires typically happen here in North America between the spring and fall, although it's not unheard of to have fires happen in the winter in some regions. And then the definition of a wildfire is an unplanned, uncontrolled, and unwanted fire burning in natural vegetation or wildlands, such as forests, grasslands, or brush. Wildfires can start in a few ways, but the forces behind them are surprisingly simple: heat, fuel, and a spark. When those things line up, especially in a drier landscape like in Utah or the mountains, you have the recipe for a fire. And only a small percentages of wildfires start naturally, but these are often the biggest and most intense because they tend to ignite in remote areas.
So a lightning bolt can reach 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh my gosh.
Which I've never thought about before.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, it's super fast. It's like,
and it's like electricity, but like I didn't know that it was that hot.
So
crazy.
It instantly ignites dry grass, tree, or leaf litter, and dry lightning storms, so lightning without rain, are especially dangerous in the West, and lightning-caused fires often smolder for hours or days before flaring up. So sometimes it can be, especially in those remote areas, that's how they can get started too.
Yeah.
They are rare, so you could also have volcanic activity start forest fires. Or wildfires, I'm sorry, which is rare today, but historically was a thing, and I just liked that because we've been talking about volcanoes more, and I thought,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
and
it makes.
I never thought about it like
because I never think about volcanoes right next to
a forest.
Yeah. But it would be uncommon, but spontaneous combustion of organic materials can also be a way of starting. So hay, compost. And it just heats up internally, and it can start a fire, which I've heard of before, like in hay. But
so like growing up at my parents' house, we had a huge compost pile, and it actually started on fire once. I don't know how, but like my dad would go up.
Internal combustion.
Yeah, and it would just start on fire, and I'm like, that's bonkers. There was just a fire in my backyard when I was like 12.
We actually had a fire in our woods last summer.
I think I remember that actually.
Yes, it was pretty large because the neighbor started a forest fire on accident.
That's right. I actually remember that.
Yeah, and then they were all volunteer firefighters because we live in a really small town, and Kylan had to go put flames out after they left because it wasn't done smoldering and it reignited. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was pretty crazy. We just came home and the woods were on
We're on
fire.
fire.
Yeah. But actually, so human causes 85 to 90% of wildfires. So most are accidental, but the impact is still the same regardless.
Yep.
So campfires, unattended or improperly extinguished fires, embers carried by the wind, and fires built too close to dry vegetation, and then vehicles are actually another way that they
Which I
start.
didn't even think about. Like
Me neither.
it makes sense,
Yeah.
but I never even would have thought about that.
So hot exhaust systems touching dry grass, blown tires or brake failures throwing sparks, parking on the trail on dry vegetation, and other causes from humans can be sparks from equipment, cigarettes, fireworks, burn piles, or debris burning, which is what happened in my backyard, and arson. While it's not common, it has happened.
My goodness. And then some environmental conditions that can make fires more likely. So even with a spark, a wildfire won't start unless conditions are, prime. These factors can turn a small spark into a major fire. So like dry fuels, a drought, dead trees, dry grasses, leaf litter, and pine needles. Heat, so like it's really hot, temperatures, and dried out vegetation even more. Low humidity, so dry air, pulls moisture out of plants and soil. And then wind. Wind is the real accelerant. It fans the flames, carries embers miles ahead of the fire, and can turn small fires into fast-moving ones. And then the topography of the land, so fires burn uphill faster because heat rises.
Oh, that's actually that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But I've never thought of that before.
Yeah, I know.
I guess why would I think a fire would burn slower downhill?
Yeah,
I haven't had that thought either.
It's not like
guess.
Can a fire fall? Like, I don't know. I guess flames typically are going up anyway.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
I was
But
gonna say, but I guess I would think that I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But
gravity, I would think would play, but maybe wind
I
is
guess not.
stronger than gravity
It
in this
is.
case. Apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that heat rises, so that would
Also make sense.
Yeah.
We're
something else today.
Yeah, we are. It's been a minute since we've recorded, so
That's true.
we're kind of just
extra chatty.
extra out of it today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get in the groove. We'll lock in.
Yeah.
That's what we used to say when I go through an edit. We're like, okay, we just need to lock in.
Or like when we're planning out our scripts and we get to talking, lock in.
We need to lock in.
It's rare that we do.
No, I believe in us today. We got it.
Yeah. So why wildfires are increasing? It's a combination of factors has made modern wildfires more intense. So we get hotter and drier summers, earlier snowmelt, more people living near wildlands, and a century of fire suppression, which has allowed the fuels to build up. Many ecosystems need fire. But when fire burns too hot or too frequently, they can become destructive.
And then we'll go into the history of fire suppression and how it's changed. So, long before modern agencies existed, indigenous communities across North America used cultural burning to improve hunting grounds, encourage new plant growth, reduce pests, protect villages from large fires. And these practices shaped entire landscapes from California oak woodlands to the Great Plains. So there are also different kinds of wildfires.
Which I never thought of that they would be like classified in different ways.
Yeah, I've never once had the thought.
We also living in Minnesota that we don't have a ton of well, I say that last year we had a huge one or two. Was there two big ones last year?
I don't remember. I remember one. Maybe I'm blending the two.
I think there was two big ones last year, but otherwise you never hear about them in Minnesota, I feel like. Or very rarely.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
Yeah.
So there's the single fire, so one ignition and one perimeter, and then a complex, which is multiple fires managed together, and then a mega fire, which is over 100,000 acres, gigafire, which is over 1 million acres, and then you have crown, surface, and ground fires, which describe how the fire burns. And then prescribed burns and back burns are intentional fire for management. and wildland urban interface fires, or WUI, where wildfire meets communities. And a wildfire creates its own weather patterns through a process called pyroconvection, where extreme heat forces massive volumes of air, moisture, and smoke rapidly into the atmosphere. And this cycle overrides the surrounding ambient conditions, effectively turning a megafire into a self-sustaining storm machine.
Which is bonkers.
The fact that it makes its own weather is
like a mountain
bonkers.
can.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think that a fire and a mountain can both.
It is crazy.
Could you imagine if there was a fire on a mountain? And the mountain
I was gonna say,
weather.
you know that happens, right?
Well, I know, but which one controls the weather?
If I had to guess, the fire, depending on how big the fire
I
is.
guess.
If it's a larger fire, I would think the fire would overtake the mountain's atmospheric ness. But if it's a smaller,
how high up fires can burn? Because like lower oxygen.
That's a good point. I wonder.
Oh, wow, that's actually so. Wildfires can burn up to the upper tree line of a mountain range, which ranges from 11,000 to 12,000 feet.
So they don't go into the alpine tundra.
In the Rocky Mountains, yeah. Above this altitude, fires typically stop naturally because of the lack of continuous vegetation, and cooler temperatures create natural barriers. Interesting.
That is, especially because we know that the alpine tundra is such a sensitive, fragile environment.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Very okay.
Protects itself from the fires.
In the western U.S., large fire activity above 8,200 feet tripled in recent decades. Fires have advanced upslope by hundreds of feet, reaching up to the 12,000-foot tree line in major blazes like Colorado's Cameron Peak Fire. Wow. That's actually really interesting.
That is very interesting. Yeah. It is. And then, so these are different weather-created weather-created things. So the fire-driven chimney effect, or updrafts, is superheated air. You have intense flames heat the air directly above them, causing it to expand, lose density, and surge upward like a massive hot air balloon. And then inflow winds is the rapid ascent, leaving a low-pressure void at the forest floor. So cooler air from surrounding areas violently rushes in to fill the gap, creating a powerful, localized wind that fans the flames even further.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just making it matter. It's making itself matter.
Yeah, apparently. And then there is the birth of fire clouds, also known as a pyrocumulus. So there's the moisture release, where as forest vegetation burns, it releases large amounts of trapped water vapor into the air column, and then the condensation happens, and this moisture climbs alongside thick plumes of ash and soot. At higher freezing altitudes, the water vapor cools and condenses directly into smoke particles, which acts as cloud seeds, forming a distinct cauliflower-like pyrocumulus cloud. I'd like to know what that looks like.
You could look it up.
I can look it up.
Here, we'll even...
I forget that Google sometimes.
We'll show it to you guys.
I feel like I spelled pyrocumulus wrong.
That's okay.
Because even autocorrect didn't come up with it. Oh, that's a real word. Oh, it basically looks like a big thing of smoke.
Oh, yeah, that does.
That makes sense.
It's a cloud. It's a fire smoke cloud. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have severe fire thunderstorms. So that's a pyrocumulonimbus. You have ice crystal friction. If a fire burns intensely enough, the cloud punches into the upper atmosphere to become a pyrocumulonimbus cloud, and inside, rising water droplets collide with falling ice crystals, separating electrical charges. And then you'll have dry lightning, so the electrical buildup triggers lightning strikes, and because the air near the ground is so hot, any rain usually evaporates before hitting the dirt, resulting in dry lightning that sparks new, disconnected wildfires miles away.
That's crazy.
So yes, I think that the clouds from the severe fire thunderstorms or the pyrocumulonimbus
There you go.
are high enough up where it forms ice
Yeah.
clouds.
Yeah. Interesting.
And then you have microbursts inside of that as well. So as the top of the cloud cools, we were just talking about, it can suddenly collapse, sending violent, erratic downdrafts of air crashing back to the ground, pushing the fire in multiple directions at once. Fire is angry. It's mad.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Fire is just mad at the world.
It really is.
My goodness. Next, we have fire.
Sorry.
Ready? Fire whirls and tornadoes.
Like we said, she's mad at the world.
Yeah. So, first there's the vortex formation, which is when the intense vertical updrafts pull air inward. They often collide with conflicting horizontal crosswinds. And then there's the firenado. The wind shear creates a rapidly spinning column of air, and it tightens into a fire whirl or a true fire tornado, spinning at speeds over 100 miles an hour and lifting heavy burning logs and embers into the sky.
It's so terrifying. A tornado is terrifying enough, but to imagine a firenado?
Like a tornado on fire, throwing things
that are on
fire.
fire? I wonder how common that is.
Full-scale fire tornadoes are exceptionally rare, but they are becoming more frequent due to the rise of massive, intense wildfires known as megafires. Okay, wait. Oh, so there's fire whirls, which are fairly common, also called fire devils. These are small to medium-sized spinning columns of smoke and flame. They behave like dust devils and are usually under 100 feet tall, last only a few seconds or minutes, and are frequently spotted by firefighters on active wildfire lines.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. So true firenadoes are massive, destructive vortexes that connect directly to a wildfire's pyrocumulonimbus cloud. They generate their own tornado-strength weather systems. Until recently, only a handful have ever been officially documented in U.S. history.
That's reassuring. You don't have to worry about the firenadoes.
Oh my gosh.
Just kidding.
Temperatures, well, no, but
Okay.
I'm just reading this. Ground temperatures must reach extreme levels, sometimes up to 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit. Like on the ground.
Yeah.
2,700 degrees Fahrenheit. That's crazy. And it's that forces massive columns of hot air to rush upward. That's so hot.
Yes.
There was one in 2018 that uprooted trees, overturned vehicles, and flattened power towers.
Where?
Power towers in California. The historic fire tornado generated by California's 2018 Car Fire. Yeah, packed winds of 165 miles an hour, which is equivalent to an EF3 tornado. That's crazy.
That is so much craziness.
Like the most recent, I think that must be the most recent one.
I'm sure, especially if they're not that common. That would make sense.
Yeah, but still, one that just happened like
a couple years ago. Yeah,
so
that's crazy. Also, I'm gonna re-say that because I feel like this stuff, nowhere to go. The Native American stuff should be after this, because then we go into the timeline.
Yeah.
Now I have to find it again. Yeah, that's why I was like really weirded out when I was talking. Yeah. Yeah. You're one paragraph off. Okay, so now for the history of fire suppression, since it's changed so much over the last 100 years, especially. Yeah. So long before modern agencies existed, indigenous communities across North America used cultural burning to improve hunting lands, encourage new plant growth, reduce pests, protect villages from large fires, and these practices shaped the entire landscapes from California oak woodlands all the way to the Great Plains. And up more. Yeah, okay. And so from the 1600s to 1800s, in America, we actually adopted some indigenous practices and were using fire as a tool and not an enemy, and only suppressed fires when they were a threat to a town or farm. So we had it going back then until the Big Burn of 1910. It was a massive wildfire that swept across Idaho, Montana, and Washington in August of 1910 and ultimately burned about 3 million acres in just 2 days. When hurricane-force winds merged hundreds of smaller fires into one giant firestorm, it destroyed entire towns, killed 78 firefighters, and produced smoke so thick it reached the East Coast and ships in the Pacific. Just horrible.
Well, and I wonder if the reason that we kind of turned away from letting fires burn is because of how many
I think that's
cities and stuff there.
I was gonna say, I think that's exactly what happened, because if you were alive during something this catastrophic, when maybe, you weren't as used to hearing about wildfires as we are today. Because they weren't quite, I feel like, as common 100 years ago.
Well, and also, news didn't travel the way it does now.
That's true. It definitely traveled for this one, though, because... But yes, so you don't hear about every little... So, but I would see, after being alive or being in a government entity at this time, you would want to take drastic changes. While they may not have done it the right way, they didn't know it.
Exactly. So it's...
Yeah, so in the early 1900s, after the 1910 Big Burn, the Forest Service adopted a strict suppression policy, and the U.S. Forest Service had a 10 a.m. policy that meant each fire needed to be contained by 10 a.m. after the day it was reported. Early detections relied heavily on thousands of fire lookouts that were built in national parks and forests, and crews were dispatched to hike into remote areas and fight fires using basic hand tools like proboscis and shovels. And firefighters also used to dig long dirt trenches called fire lines to starve incoming flames. And in the 1930s, the CCC was put to work clearing brush, thinning trees, and constructing fire breaks, a man-made gap in vegetation used to stop or slow the spread of wildfires.
And then in 1939, the U.S. Forest Service launched trials for the Smoke Jumper program, an elite branch of wildland firefighting that inserts highly trained rapid response crews into remote, roadless areas by parachuting them out of airplanes. And on July 12th, 1940, Rufus Robinson and Earl Cooley made the nation's first operational fire jump on the Nez Perce National Forest in Idaho. The Forest Service developed its paratrooper techniques before the U.S. Army formalized its airborne units.
Wow.
In fact, Army officers visited the smoke jumper base in Missoula, Montana, to adapt Forest Service tactics for World War II.
That is really cool. I did not know that.
I was like, dang, that's kind of impressive.
Look at you guys go.
Yeah, we're training Army officers. That's so cool. And then in the 1940s and 50s, they started integrating war surplus equipment. So land managers used helicopters, bulldozers, and airplanes to drop water and chemical retardants on fires. And then on October 10th, 1944, Smokey the Bear came around. Artist Albert Sahili drew the very first image of Smokey the Bear wearing blue jeans and a campaign hat, pouring water over a campfire. And in 1950, a living American black bear cub was rescued from a wildfire in New Mexico, originally nicknamed Hotfoot Teddy because of his burned paws.
I did know that, and it's very cute.
It is very cute, but it's also really sad.
It is, but it's
yeah. He was renamed Smokey.
Teddy. I mean,
that's
come
so
on.
cute. Oh,
if you don't want me to think it's cute, don't name it that.
No, literally.
I mean, that's a horrible experience for the baby bear,
but cute name kind of came out of it.
Yeah.
He was renamed Smokey and lived in the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. as the real-life face of the campaign until 1975.
So, historically, as we've talked about, the naturally low-intensity fires regularly cleared out dead leaves, fallen branches, and dense underbrush. And when firefighting crews eliminated these small fires, this organic material accumulated on the forest floor for decades. Forests became choked with fuel, meaning that when a fire did start, it quickly grew into an unstoppable inferno that burned hot enough to destroy entire ecosystems. And without natural fire to thin the landscape, too many trees grew in close proximity, so there was an overcrowded forest problem, and these overcrowded forests created a continuous canopy of treetops known as ladder fuels, and this allowed fires to easily climb from the forest floor into the tree crowns, turning manageable ground fires into devastating canopy fires. And during the mid 20th century, scientists proved that fire is biologically necessary for many ecosystems. And they discovered that seed reproduction with certain trees like giant sequoias and jack pines have cones sealed with resin that requires the intense heat of a fire to open and release seeds. So these trees couldn't reseed without the fire. And then there's also nutrient recycling. So fire rapidly breaks down dead organic matter, returning vital nutrients to the soil, as well as disease control. So the natural blazes kill off invasive insects and plant diseases that target weakened trees. There were also skyrocketing economic costs. By the late 1960s, the financial cost of fighting every single fire in remote, roadless wilderness areas became unsustainable, and budgets were being exhausted on fires that posed no threat to human lives or property. And while the aggressive firefighting tactics themselves often caused severe environmental damages to the landscape crews were actually trying to protect. So it not only it wasn't working financially, but also wasn't working for the ecosystem at all.
Yeah.
That they were trying to save. They didn't understand that they weren't saving
That they
it at the
were
time.
doing
Yeah.
more harm than good.
Now they learned that, but
Yes,
but
they know
yes.
that now, but at the time they were
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then that piece will then go nicely into the
into
1960s.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
In 1968, the National Park Service changed its policy to allow lightning-caused fires to burn under specified conditions in designated areas, recognizing fire as a natural ecosystem process, which I think was kind of like the first step towards, oh, maybe it's not,
The worst thing
the
in the
worst
world.
thing in the world.
It can be in some
yes.
cases. Not saying that
like,
fire's good, but
in national forests where there's not
people
where there's
living.
not towns
Yeah.
and homes and stuff,
It's really good for
it's
the
good
land.
for the land. Yes, it is. And then in the 70s, the U.S. Forest Service followed suit, shifting its focus from fire control to fire management. They began allowing some natural fires to run their course in designated wilderness zones, as well as recognizing prescribed burns as a necessary fire tool. And then in the 1980s, wildfire control was caught in a political and environmental tug of war, relying on the heavy deployment of military forces, high-tech chemical foams, and aerial bombardments. So the 80s was kind of the rise of fire foam. So firefighters began using compressed air foam systems, or CAFS, and medium expansion foam. The sticky substance was blanketed over buildings and trees to insulate them from incoming flame fronts. And then there was the massive aerial bombardment. So agencies increasingly relied on the military's modular airborne firefighting system, or MAFFS, which is large air National Guard cargo planes dropped millions of gallons of chemical retardants on slow advancing fires. They also mechanized fire lines, so bulldozers and heavy earth-moving equipment became standard tools to carve massive perimeter lines down to bare soil, supplementing manual crews. The media and the public severely criticized the National Park Service flexible policies, labeling them a reckless, let it burn attitude. So the political pressure, President Ronald Reagan and Western politicians demanded a zero tolerance policy for new starts, and the federal reorganization of it, the massive financial toll and chaotic logistics of the decade led to the creation of the Federal Office of Wildland Fire to streamline budgets and consolidate firefighting oversight across the U.S. government.
I actually didn't know that was a department of our government.
I didn't either.
I mean, probably could have assumed, but never thought about that either.
But I never thought about it being like I don't know,
Yeah.
a part of our federal government,
That's
and
true.
not just like maybe on like a
Yeah, I don't know what I
state
would have
level
thought.
even,
Yeah.
but
I don't know. I guess they got to get their funding from somewhere, right? And they probably got to even it out, right? Because there's not like wildfires, and
yeah, each state, I guess.
Yeah.
And then in 1988, there was the Yellowstone fires. The ultimate test of the 1980s firefighting occurred during the 1988 Yellowstone National Park fires, which burned over 1 million acres, and almost 800,000 of those acres were within the national park. More than 9,000 civilian firefighters and 4,000 U.S. military personnel were deployed to the front lines, despite spending $120 million, which now is equivalent to over $320 million. Like, how is that more than double? And this was in 88. Like, that wasn't that long ago.
It's almost triple.
Yeah. Which is crazy. But they spent $120 million dumping massive amounts of retardant, and human efforts could not stop the blazes. So that's when nature intervenes. The fires were finally stopped only when autumn snow fell on September 11th of 1988, proving that extreme modern fires defy human control. The fire started on June 14th when the Storm Creek fire was ignited just north of the park boundaries. The summer of '88 was one of the driest summers in Yellowstone's recorded history, which fueled the fire. It was the most destructive day was August 20th, when there was extreme winds that pushed the flames across 150,000 acres in one day. Then, on September 11th, there was a significant snowfall that made a big enough impact on the fire where it no longer was considered a threat to lives and park communities. And not until November 18th was the last remaining smolder and hot spot extinguished, and the fire was officially out. So it ran from June 14th to November 18th.
That's crazy.
Like, that's bonkers.
I do remember learning about this, though, when we talked about Yellowstone, because I remember
Yeah.
talking about the summer of the wildfires in Yellowstone. And we looked at a park map, and it was like so much of the park burned that year.
Well, how big is the park? It's
over 2.2 million acres, I believe.
Okay, so it's
But I mean, 800,000 burned.
Still
that's almost half the park.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot.
I was gonna say it looked like a lot.
Yeah.
That's also a crazy length of time for
the
fires.
I mean, June, July, August, September, October, almost 6 months.
And then we can talk about firefighting today. So wildfires in the United States now cost tens of billions of dollars every year, and that price tag comes from the three major buckets of suppression, forest management, and insured losses. So that includes every property loss, as well. So it doesn't cost us taxpayers, but it because some of that is insurance money as well. But early detection and monitoring is one of the things that they use today. So they use satellites, drones, lookout towers, and infrared flights to help spot new fires quickly. And weather models and fire behavior tools predict how a fire will move and where it may grow so they can help contain it faster if need be. And then early detection is critical because small fires are far easier to control than massive ones.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they
catch
use
them
that
while they're small.
Right. They use ground crews, so hot shots, hand crews, engines, and dozers. Firefighters on the ground cut fire lines, strips of cleared vegetation that stop the fire spread, and they use chainsaws, shovels, and bulldozers to remove fuel in the fire's path. And engine crews protect homes, spray water or foam, and patrol neighborhoods. And then they use air support, so helicopters and air tankers. And helicopters drop water and transport crews into the remote areas. And then large air tankers drop fire retardant to slow the fire so ground crews can move in. And drones map fire edges and identify hotspots through thick smoke. Fire retardant and water drops are used as well. So fire retardant coats vegetation so it won't ignite easily, and then water cools hotspots and knocks down flames but doesn't stop the fire alone. Aerial drops buy time, but they don't extinguish fires by themselves either. And then we have controlled burns and back burning. So prescribed burns reduce fuel buildup and restore the natural ecosystem in that area. And back burns are intentionally set fires that remove vegetation ahead of the wildfire so it can stop it from spreading. These tactics starve the main fire of fuel and help contain it. And prescribed burns are now a core part of wildfire management across the U.S. And they also use structure protection, so firefighters clear brush around homes, set up sprinklers, and wrap vulnerable buildings. And engines defend neighborhoods when fires approach, and they create defensible space, which is a key to saving structures. And then we have incident command and coordination. So large fires use the incident command system, or ICS, to organize crews, aircraft, logistics, and communication, and thousands of people may be involved in a major wildfire response. And the system ensures everyone works together safely and efficiently, so we don't have miscommunication problems or anything like that. And then fire behavior prediction. So crews use weather forecasts, fuel moisture readings, and computer modules to anticipate fire movement, and predicting wind shifts and terrain effects help keep firefighters safe, because obviously then they're not going into unsafe situations.
Yeah.
Or as many unsafe situations.
Yeah.
And science now plays a major role in strategy and planning of firefighting. And evacuations and public safety. So protecting people is always the top priority. Firefighters coordinate evacuations, road closures, and emergency alerts. And local fire departments and federal crews work together to protect communities. And then lastly, post-fire recovery. So after containment, teams stabilize slopes, prevent erosion, and restore habitats. And scientists study fire behavior to improve future firefighting strategies. And recovery can take months to years depending on the severity of the fire. But we clearly have advanced in technology and ways to fight fires.
Yeah. During wildfires, most large mammals detect the danger early, and so they move toward a natural refuge or outrun the fire entirely. Smaller animals shelter underground or in water. And after the fire, wildlife returns quickly to take advantage of the nutrient-rich new growth. Despite how destructive fires look to us, most ecosystems and the animals in them are remarkably adapted to survive and rebound. Wildfires are a natural and necessary force that can reduce dangerous fuels, restore forest health, recycle nutrients, create wildlife habitat, support biodiversity, maintain fire-adapted ecosystems, and prevent future megafires. So fire isn't just destruction, it's also renewal.
Very true. Especially in like a forest ecosystem.
Yes.
Clearly in like a city.
It's
not the same.
It's
That's not what we're talking about here. Yeah.
No, like we understand that fires close
Wildfires
to wildfires can be
devastating.
And but like in areas where it's allowed to burn and it's not harming anybody, then it's positive.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, on our boat tour on Moline Lake to go to Spirit Island in Jasper National Park in Canada, we were learning how it's like one or two kinds of like coniferous trees will have overtaken a lot of different parts of the forest where they use the suppression only, and so nothing else
has an opportunity to grow because there's too many of those like one or two kinds.
Yeah, and it covers everything.
Yeah.
And so when they had that wildfire in Jasper, it actually is now helping restore plants that haven't been in the area in a long time either.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
Yes. It would be cool to go back like years down the road when it's
and see
regrown, and we can be like, oh my gosh, it looks
saw and there was just nothing. It was all burnt and grass, and that was it.
Yeah, and then like who knows?
But we can already see like seedlings coming up. And
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did actually see a lot.
10 years from now, it's gonna look so different.
Yeah.
Like, so drastically different. Just because, like, there'll be so many different kinds of trees.
Yes. Which is good.
Yes, it is.
I like diversity in our forest.
We do. Yes. Yeah.
So I hope you learned something.
We sure did.
Wildfires. We learned a lot about wildfires.
Yeah. We did.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. Like, if we go on another boat tour somewhere where there's like wildfires, we feel like educated.
We
can ask advanced questions now.
Educated questions.
Yeah. I like it. I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thanks for joining us again for another month on Patreon. We appreciate you.
We do.
Please. And I hope you have a great month.
Yeah, we'll see you next month.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Please like, share, and subscribe to
Sleeping in Park.